Hi, I'm Kelly from kellyjjewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute Valentine ring. So let's get started. So we just want to say a quick thank you to all my patrons, all my lovely patrons, for making it possible for me to keep making all these tutorial videos for you. Thanks guys, thank you. To make this ring, you'll need 0.8mm wire, which is 20 gauge, and I've cut 4 lengths at 10 inches, which is 26 centimetres, and 1 length at 6 inches, which is 15 centimetres. I've got 0.315mm weaving wire. I've wound mine onto a bobbin. This is a Bobeeze bobbin by Beadsmith. I usually just wind it on there. This is the unweighted 25mm one. If you don't have one of these, don't worry, you can just cut shorter lengths as you go. I used one of these once and I've used one every time since, so I do recommend them. I'm not sponsored by them whatsoever. So I've got a little stone today, little flat back stone. Mine is 5mm. Not going to attempt to pick that up just yet. Tools, I've got my pliers, round nose pliers, cutters, and nylon pliers. If you don't have nylon pliers, don't worry. I just like having these handy for straightening the wires and compressing the weaves. These don't cost much at all. Those are prestige. And all the rest of my tools are Tronex. I've put a list in the description below of all of these things. So we'll start with the weave for the band. To work out a rough size for the band, just trying to find the centre of the wire there, that's about right. So to work out a rough band size, get your tape around your finger and see how roughly how big that is, and then taking into account that the centrepiece is going to be about something between 1.5 to 2 centimetres. So take that off your band, and then that's the weave that we'll do now, just as a rough, just to get us started in the right place. So take that measurement, halve it, and then start, because I know roughly my band's going to be about 4 centimetres, so I'm going to start about 2 centimetres to the left of the centre of the wires. So if you put your thumb in the centre, work out your rough band and then go half to the left, just so that your band is roughly, the rough band measurement is roughly in the middle of your wires. So that's where I'll be starting. These things are very touch and go, they don't always work out. I find that my rings are generally massive, and if I try and work it out and get it right, they end up a bit small. So it is very here and there, it does change. Oh, you just have to just keep checking against the mandrel all the way. And I forgot to mention, you're going to need a mandrel. Just as we've made the band and we start making the centerpiece and that, just keep checking against the mandrel to get the size right. So I've got an interesting weave for you today. If you want to give it a go, feel free to do a different weave if you don't fancy doing this one. So we're going to start with 3 wraps around the top wire. So we're going to wrap around each wire on the way down. So we come up between the middle 2. We wrap around that 3rd wire. Come up between the bottom 2. Wrap around the 2nd wire. And then wrap around the bottom wire. To push that down. So we've got a single wrap around each wire all the way down. Next, what we're going to do, we go around the whole thing twice. We come up between the top 2 wires and we wrap around each wire again all the way down to the bottom. To wrap around the top wire, wrap around the 3rd wire, come up between the bottom 2, we wrap around the 2nd wire, wrap around the bottom wire. Keep pushing it together as you go. So now I want to wrap around the middle 2 wires, but I'm in the wrong place. So I'm going to come up between the top 2, and I'm going to wrap around those middle 2 wires going the other way, so it's awkward. But we've got to be awkward if we want those wraps in the middle. And I'm going to go around the middle wires 3 times, awkward as you can. So we've gone round the wrong way 3 times. Then we come back up between the top 2 wires. I told you it was a strange one, and feel free to do a different weave if you want to. Keep pushing it together. So I've come up between the top 2 wires, and now we're going to repeat our weave. So we go around each wire all the way down to the bottom. So I've gone around the top wire, come up between the middle 2, and I'm repeating that weave. Can you see that? Can you see a repeat? Then I go around the whole thing a couple of times, come up between the top 2 wires, and we wrap around each wire again all the way down to the bottom. And you don't have to rush this. If you take it nice and slow, make sure you position each wrap exactly where you want it to be, and then you know it's going to be nice and tidy. Quite an interesting little wrap. So now I want to go around the middle wires. We come up between the top 2 and we go around the other way. So I'm going around the middle 2 wires. It feels wrong to me because I always go around the other way. We go around 3 times. Can hear Gracie snoring already. Then we come up between the top 2 and we're back in place to do another repeat. Keep pushing your weave together as you go. So do that interesting weave or whatever weave you've decided to do for the length that you worked out to be the rough band size for your ring. So I've kept repeating that weave and I've done my 4 centimeters of it. You need to keep pushing it together as you go, and I like to flatten mine with nylon pliers. So I really like the look of the weave being all flat. I think that's quite a cute one. Notice that the other side looks very different. If you like that side, you could have that to the front if you want. So when you wrap it around your mandrel, you need to make sure that this is on the outside and not that side, or that'll be your band. So just thought I'd point that out. So grab your mandrel, make sure your weave's the right way, and we need to next bend it around. So find the size you want and bend your weave evenly around your mandrel. So bring some wires one side and some wires the other, so your wires aren't all crossing over each other, they're all next to each other. And looking at mine, this gap is too much, that's too wide. I need it to come closer than that, so I'm just going to add a few more repeats of that weave so that gap isn't so massive. So I've added a few more repeats to that weave, and when I put it on there now, I've got a smaller gap. I'm happier with that. So this gap is about 1 centimetre. But if you want to be like more accurate, you're going to have to keep putting it on the mandrel as we're doing stuff now, because this size now isn't really definite. It might change a little bit. So keep popping it back on here to check the size as you go in. I can't think of another way of doing it, because it's all very much like, it's all guesswork, isn't it, really? So if you keep putting it on here and you keep doing, because my wire's a bit springy as well, so even when I let go of it, it springs a bit open, do you know what I mean? Just keep putting it on the mandrel and checking the size, like periodically as you're making it. So I'm going to cut this little tail end here. And whenever you cut a wire, always remember to press down that little cut end. So firstly, we're going to take the outer wire, hold your band and bend the outer wire out. Turn it around. Hold the band and take the outer wire out. So now we've got 6 wires in the middle. I'm going to finish this weave with a few wraps around this single wire because it's going to keep coming undone. I'm going to cut that wire off because what we need now is we need to strap all these wires together in the middle, and if we're going to use weaving wire, that means we're going to have to weave, and it's hard to weave when you have to keep posting it between all the wires. New tutorial now in my Etsy shop. This one's a cute ring and it's got 3 stones, so it's got little stones in the sides there. It's a written tutorial, so that means you've got loads of pages, loads and loads of pictures for you to follow along step by step at your own pace. This one's also got quite an interesting weave on the band. So yeah, check it out and I'll see you there. It's over on Etsy and it's on my website. Bye! We could do something a little bit thicker, so I'm going to use some 21 gauge half round. I'll add that to the list at the beginning. So I've cut about 12 inches and I'm putting flat side against the wires. And I'm just wrapping around the whole thing. If you wrap around like this, at least we're not having to weave and go between all the wires. We'll just go around and around all of those 6 wires. Do you know what I mean? Tying them all together nice and flat, and then that will be like a little platform to put our little stone onto. So I've been wrapping around and around that, and I think I did too much, so I've undone some from the beginning because the beginning was not very tidy. So if I measure that again, I mean it should be 1 centimetre still. Yeah, so you want to keep it to 1 centimetre. My wires keep moving. And to finish off this, what I'll do is, I can part these wires a little bit. I'm going to wrap around just the outer wire just to secure those wraps in place. Do you know what I mean? We'll do that at both ends just to hold it all in nice and tight. When you've wrapped around there, we can cut that off. Press down those little cut ends. So what we'll do is we'll make a cup with the wires first. So we're going to bring this wire back over and across to this side. We're going to take this top wire, the same, back over and across to this side. So we're making like a cup for our stone to sit in. This will be like the side wires for it. I've got an idea for this one. If it works, then you're watching my video now. If it didn't work, then I've deleted it. So I quite fancy doing a weave with these 2 wires. I think I'm going to do a weave and then bring them over like between the stone and this wire, then it'll cup it all a lot nicer and tighter. So we'll remove that stone for now and we'll do a nice weave across these 2 wires. So now we'll just weave across these 2 wires. So take your weaving wire, wrap a couple of times around one of the wires. I tried making a ring the other day and I used thinner wires. I've started absolutely loving the thinner weaving wire, So I've been using thinner base wires as well, so it's all a lot smaller. And it feels like, you look at it and you think it's all cute, but then it's not as strong as these. Like working with the 20 gauge and the 28, it's a nice ratio. The wires are nice sizes and it's still got the strength. I do like working with the thinner wires, but you really don't have the strength that you need with the rings, really, because you don't want your band all bending all over the place. That's quite tough, that is. And the one I made yesterday was quite bendy, so I would recommend the 0.8, a 20 gauge for this. Anyway, 3 wraps around the bottom wire, then we wrap around the 2 wires, come up between, and we go over the top. We wrap around the top wire and then around the bottom wire. And that's how we repeat. And we're going to take this weave and bend it over so it comes up the front of the stone next to this weave, this wire. So it's only got to be that long, so we haven't got to do much of this weave. So we go around the 2 wires, come up between, around the top, around the bottom. Keep pushing it together as you go. So I've repeated that weave, right, so we need to cut that from the beginning, if I can get in there. Flatten down that little cut bit. And this weave, that's going to be in the way, isn't it? This weave is going to come over. So it needs to really push down. And it's going to come up so it like really cups the stone. I can feel a sharp bit in there I need to flatten down. The weave does need to reach to the bottom there, so I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to cut the weaving wire. I'm going to leave a little bit attached in case I need to add or take weaves to that bit. Turn it around. Hold on, where am I going? So now I'm going to weave across these 2. I'm going to do the same weave and I'm going to take it over. Oh, they're going to be in the way. Let's put them to the back. And that one. Go on. So I'm going to then take these 2 wires. Oh dear. I'm going to weave across these 2, bend them up to cup the other side of the stone. I really should have done these first, shouldn't I? Same weave across these 2 wires that we just did there. So I've repeated that weave. I need to cut the wire from the beginning. This will all start to make sense in a minute and it'll all start looking a bit more organised. So this one comes across. You really need to push the weave down so we haven't got any gaps. So this comes over, we need to press it quite flat, oh, and then it comes up, so we're making a proper little cup for this stone. So this is going to go this way and this is going to go this way. Can you see what I mean? Try the stone for size. I don't know if it'll fit in yet. My stone's quite flat, to be honest. I don't know if that's an advantage or not. So it'll cup it. Oh, and I can see how I can adjust the weave there so I haven't got a gap at the top. So you can really squeeze it together so it cups the stone nice. So I've been playing around with the weave. I've pulled the weaves up tight around the stone and I've pulled this bare wire over so it ends up on the other side of the weave. And I think I prefer how that looks. I like the bare wire coming into the stone, so I've done it on this one as well. I've pulled it across the weave so it starts off on this side and ends up on the other side. Do you know what I mean? And if you can get your weave, my weave, I need to add a few repeats to it, so I'm going to weave across all 3 wires just to tie them together there. So I'll go around the 2, hold on, I'll go around all 3 wires. I'll go around the bottom 2. Gracie snoring her head off. Come up between, and then I'll go around the top 2. I'll do that again just to make sure they're all tied together. Go around the bottom 2, come up between, go over the top. I'll wrap a few times around the top just to hold that in place. I'll do that with this one as well, and because I've got a bit of wire left, makes it a bit easier. So push all your weave together. I'm going to undo a couple of these repeats, and then I shall just do that weave across the 3 wires just to hold it together. I'm choking. Just to hold it all together. I've done a few repeats, and I want it just to come to the end there. So I'll come underneath, and I'll just do a couple of repeats of that weave. Go around 2, come up between them, go around the top 2, go around the bottom 2, come up between, go around the top 2. She snores herself awake sometimes. She's so loud. That holds that all together there. So you see this gap here? I can point with my pliers. See this little gap here? I'm going to fold these 3 wires over. Try and get a bit more light. It's so dark in here. So I'm going to fold these 3 wires over, wrap them around the band, and I'm going to pull them over here where this gap is so they can attach there. Why is that so dark? I'm sure I'll edit it so it's a lot brighter. I'm going to cut that off. So I'm going to take all 3 wires, holding that at the front so it doesn't move too much. Take all 3 wires around. It might be easier to take them around one at a time. Push them around. I'm holding that really firmly in place so it doesn't move. I'm also pushing my weave together. That wire needs to be this side so they can come up. Oh, cross them over. Hold on. In that gap there. Does that make sense? So then I'm going to bend them over that bit. Spread the wires out a bit just so I can see them. So I'm going to cut 2 quite short. I'm going to keep the last one long. So I want them to come over the weave and then stop, so they're going to go behind. Make sure I'm not cutting anything else. So I want them to go behind, so they're flat against there, and they'll cover that gap. I think they're a bit too long still. Yeah, I need to cut them a bit shorter than that. So that it fits, I'm just pulling this weave away a little bit just to make a gap. And then I'm going to try twist these wires a little bit so that they go behind the stone there. Right, that's looking better. As long as I don't mark it too much, because we can always file those marks out again in a bit. Do the same to the other side. So make sure your weave is the right length. So then this one, these 3 wires are going to go around. Right, the gap isn't so big this side. They're going to come around here. So I'm going to have to pull that away just a little bit to get those wires around. So I'm just going to go around that once more. So I can cut off that wire. I can see I've misshaped my band. Don't look at it, it looks awful. I'll fix it. So then we're going to take all 3 wires around like we did before, bend them from the ends, try and hold the front in place. You don't want to cross those wires over, we want to try and keep them as they are. Go around the band, come up this side of the wire, and then we'll finish them off. And we need to cut 2 short and keep 1 long. Mine's racing off ahead of me here. Right, so we're going to keep this outer one, it can go over there, and these 2 we're going to cut off and bend over and get them around the back of there. So and then I need to make a gap. I'm all tied up in my wires. Make a gap there behind that weave and bend those wires over into that gap there. So that went in lovely. Make sure you push your weave back. I've got to push this weave back as well. We've got 1 wire coming out. Got this wire coming out. I need to straighten those wires, they're going all over the place. And then we've got the 2 wires from earlier. One's coming up, one's coming down. So I'd like to add some little heart decorations to the sides of the band here using these wires. So I'm going to have a go at doing some little shapes. If you want to leave this part out, you can, and you can just curl these wires and curl that wire and leave it all nice. You can even just wrap them around the band and cut them off and tighten them around the band if you want to carry on and do this little shape. I'm sure it'll be worth it. So I've squeezed my weave a little bit tighter around the stone just so it's nice and secure there. So what we want is this wire that's coming down, it's coming straight down, and I want it to just come off the bottom of the band. So we don't want it massive and we don't want it too small. So just where it comes off the bottom of the band there, I'm going to grip the wire. Let's have a look. I don't know why it's so dark. So I've gripped the wire and I'm going to bend the wire completely over itself. Hold on, let's bend this one up so I can show you. Can you see that? I've bent it straight over itself and I'm going to give it a little squeeze. If I can get in there, come on. I'm scared, I feel like I'm going to break a nail. Hold on. I got it. And then we're going to grip the tip. We're going to pull that wire out. So I'm just taking my time, making a little scoop shape at the bottom because I want it to be nice. And if you do mark your wire, it's fine. I'll show you how to get rid of that in a moment. See a bit better. I've tried adding another light. It's so dark in here. I don't know if that's made it worse. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shape, this is the V, which is the bottom of the heart. We're going to shape it over into the top of the heart. We're going to need some round nose pliers. So I'm going to bend the wire over, bring it over the pliers. Do you know what I mean? And then there, this little heart's going to get fiddlier and fiddlier. We're going to then bend it back up because we want a V in the top of that shape. That's it. And then grip it again and it goes over again. So we've made a little heart shape. Top wire is going to mimic the top half of the heart, so I'm going to bend it that way to start with, and I'm going to scoop it over, she says, and then I'm going to grip it where that V is, and I'm going to bend it up so we're making the V above. Does that make sense? So we've got another heart above the little one. My hands, I'm just not strong enough today. Then we're going to bring the wire over and around and down the other side. So we've got like a pretty heart motif on the side there. And then these two wires are going to finish at the bottom and go over and around that weave. So we should finish this heart really before we do the other side. I'm just going to do the same thing, but it's facing the other way. So this has got the bumps on the top and this will have the bumps on the bottom. Shall we finish it off? Probably do a little weave because this bump could be caught and we don't want anything sticking out or catching on anything. I'm going to do a little weave. I'm just going to tie them all together. It'll be fine. You can leave it out if you think yours is secure enough. I'm just going to tie that middle bit down. So I've gone a couple of times around one of the wires. I'm going to take it through the heart. So I've gone through that little bit that I think is going to cause the problem to the other side. And when you get out the other side, we wrap a few times around the wire on that side so it's all nice and tight, held together. Come back through that piece in the middle and then tie again on this side, and I think that'll hold it. So we just need to cut that weaving wire at both ends and press down any little cut ends. Both of those wires now need to go through. Cut that one off because it's a lot longer. They need to go through, and I'm holding the heart down firmly in place. So I want one wire to come up on one side and one wire to come up on the other so it holds it evenly. And I'm bending those wires down the front, try and find the space. Squeeze them at the back, try and find the space where they can sit. Bring them over the front. And I don't like ring wires ending at the back, so I'm going to bring it over the top and cut it off. If you want to send it down and over here, you can, but you may get a little scratchy bit because if your finger's on the inside of the ring, you might get a little scratchy bit. If you cut them short, you can squeeze them over the band and they'll grip and finish on the outside rather than on the inside. But it's up to you. It's up to you what you want to do with yours. So I'm going to do a little, I'm going to do the same on this side. So this wire that comes down, we're going to grip it, the bottom of the weave, losing my voice now. You want to try and get it the same size as the other one so they kind of match. We're going to bend it directly over itself and then get in there and try and flatten it down without breaking your nails or your fingers. That's it. And then we're going to grip the tip and pull it out to the side. So we've got that little V there, sort of like that. Then you want round nose pliers, and we're going to shape the top. So I bend it a bit, and then I pull the wire over the pliers. Grip the wire there, and we bend it up so we're making a V. Then we want round nose again. Bring the wire around and down. And you need to sit and adjust it so it's all matches. Then we take the top wire, push it that way to start with, and we're going to scoop it over to come over the first bump of the heart shape. Grab with your pliers and we'll pull it back up to make that V. Then holding it in place the best you can, it is a bit awkward. We bring this side down. So we've got the 3 wires. 2 wires, I don't know where I've seen 3. I'm going to just tie them together at the bottom with a bit of weaving wire as we did before. So I'm just going to cut those ends off. It's a very artistic heart. It's quite an artsy heart. It's not a very standard heart, is it? So I'm going to bend these wires over the bottom and then bring them down as we did for the other ones. That one is a lot shorter. I don't know if it's gonna go. I don't know how it's ended up being so short. So that one goes up on that side. Give it a squeeze there. And the other one may not reach. I don't know why it's so tiny. Just about. Oh wow. And then that little bit is going to come over the top there. Just got enough, I think. Wow. So I'm going to suggest you start with a longer wire because I don't remember cutting this one. I don't know why it's so small. So I will suggest you start with slightly longer wires. That has only just fitted in there. So I've got one more wire to cut and then we'll leave some of these tool marks if you've got tool marks too. I'll show you how to get rid of those. So I'm just going to press the end over the edge of the band so it grips on there. So I've got quite a few marks and dinks in my wires, as you can see. So you can use, let me just find it. I can't find it. You know those standard nail buffers when you've got like, it's like a square and it's got numbers on. So what you can do is you can go through the different numbers, buffing off the marks. So this is just a little buffer. So this is what I was trying to describe. You know, and this is, I use this for wire, so it's really mucky. So what you do is, you start with the more coarse one, careful on your weaving wire because you will break your weaving wire. And we just want to try and lose the marks on the wire. So do be very gentle with it. And then go down through the numbers. So you go into a finer and a finer grit. And at the end you should have nice shiny without any marks on. Don't mark that one, a little bit. I'll just do that one as well anyway. Very unusual, something a bit different for you this time. I wanted to incorporate hearts, but I wanted to do a ring. I tried putting the heart shape in the middle and it was just too fiddly. It was driving me crazy. I hope you liked the band. I'll go and oxidise this and then I'll show you how it turned out. So there we have it, finished. I've oxidised mine. If you'd like help oxidising yours, I've done videos on oxidising and aftercare. So there we have it, cute little ring for you for Valentine's. I did notice the weave was really riding high, so you have to really push it down onto the front of the stone there so you haven't got any gaps. But apart from that, it all turned out quite pretty, quite cute. Really pleased how it ended up. I'd love to see what you make. Come and share with me over on social media. And thanks for watching. Thanks again to all of my patrons for supporting me, for making it possible for me to keep making these tutorials, and I will see you all soon. Bye for now.